The smell of sizzling spices filled the air aboard the cargo ship Solar Wind. Captain Ryan Hale sat at the metal table, sipping his morning coffee as his alien cook, Zeru, carefully turned a pan of fried root vegetables. Zeru always moved quietly, with small, careful steps. His blue skin glowed faintly in the dim kitchen lights, and his long fingers worked with calm grace. But this morning something was different. When Zeru reached for a pot, his sleeve slipped back, and Ryan froze. There, on the alien's arm, were dark purple bruises running up from wrist to elbow like marks from heavy chains. Ryan frowned. "Zeru, what happened to your arm?" The alien stiffened. For a second he didn't move. Then he slowly pulled his sleeve down and said softly, "It's nothing, Captain. I slipped while lifting the water tank." Ryan didn't believe it. Zeru was careful, almost too careful. He'd seen the cook handle boiling oil without a drop spilling. Falling while lifting a tank? That didn't sound right. "Let me see it," Ryan said. Zeru shook his head quickly, eyes wide. "Please, Captain, don't ask. It's fine. It will heal soon." Ryan leaned back in his chair, studying him. Zeru's voice was trembling, his eyes darting toward the security camera in the corner. He wasn't afraid of Ryan. He was afraid of someone watching. Ryan slowly turned his gaze to the camera, too. The small red light blinked steadily. "Zeru," he said softly. "Who hurt you?" The alien froze. His throat moved as if he wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Then, without a word, he bowed his head and hurried to the sink, pretending to wash dishes. Ryan watched in silence, a cold feeling growing in his chest. Something was very wrong. That night, long after lights out, Ryan sat alone in the control room. The hum of the engines filled the ship like a heartbeat. He couldn't stop thinking about those bruises. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the shape of the marks, perfectly round, evenly spaced. Not random, not from a fall. They looked like restraints. He leaned forward and pulled up the ship's camera logs. The kitchen feed was boring. Just Zeru cleaning and cooking, but around 200 hours the footage glitched. For 3 minutes the screen turned to static. When it came back, Zeru was limping. Ryan frowned. "That's impossible. The cameras are linked to the main system." He fast-forwarded through more footage. A second glitch appeared the next night, again around the same time. And again when the feed returned, Zeru looked different, tired, shaken. Ryan opened the maintenance logs. No repairs had been done to the system. Someone had manually disabled the cameras. At 30 hours, he decided to find out the truth himself. He moved quietly through the dark ship, blaster in hand. The metal floors echoed under his boots. The kitchen was empty, but the door to the lower cargo hold was slightly open. Ryan slipped inside. Down in the hold, he heard faint voices, deep, guttural tones. He crept behind a stack of crates and peered around the corner. 4 tall aliens stood there, scales glistening under the dim lights. Dravoks. Their armor was black and covered in sharp ridges. Ryan's stomach turned. He'd seen them before. The Dravok Empire ruled half the Outer Rim, known for buying and selling slaves across the stars. In the center of the group knelt Zeru, trembling, his hands bound. One Dravok spoke in a low growl. "You know the rules, slave. You don't hide. You don't speak unless told. You think that human can protect you." Ryan's blood boiled. He gripped his blaster tightly, his breath silent. Zeru's voice cracked as he said, "Please, I'm working. I'm obeying. A Dravok struck him hard across the face. Zeru fell. Ryan had to stop himself from shouting. His heart pounded in his ears. The leader turned to the others. "He's been too long among the humans. We'll take him back soon. The captain doesn't know he's a runaway." The aliens laughed, their deep voices echoing off the metal walls. Then one of them pulled out a small black device and pressed a button. Zeru screamed in pain as a faint glow appeared at the back of his neck. A control implant. Ryan's hands shook with rage. He wanted to shoot them all right there. But he knew he couldn't fight 4 armed Dravoks in close quarters. Not yet. He waited, muscles tight as they finished. The Dravoks pushed Zeru down and walked away, disappearing through the maintenance hatch. When they were gone, Ryan rushed forward. "Zeru," he whispered, kneeling beside him. The alien opened his eyes weakly. "Captain, you shouldn't have come." Ryan looked at the burns on his neck, the bruises on his arms. "They did this to you? Why?" Zeru turned away, tears mixing with the dark blue blood on his face. "Because I ran away, and now they will never stop hunting me." Ryan stared at him, shocked. "Ran away? From who?" Zeru whispered, voice shaking. "From the Dravok Empire. They own me." Ryan felt a chill crawl up his spine. Outside, the hum of the engine seemed suddenly too quiet, too still. He looked at the stars beyond the small cargo window and swore under his breath. If what Zeru said was true, then this wasn't just about a cook with bruises. It was about a secret that could start a war. And Ryan had just stepped right into it. The next morning, solar wind floated silently through the endless dark of space. Captain Ryan Hale hadn't slept at all. The image of Zeru's bruised arms and the Dravok's laughter haunted him. He kept hearing that terrible word. Slave. Zeru moved quietly around the kitchen, pretending nothing had happened. His hands shook slightly as he chopped vegetables. The bright blue of his skin looked dull under the light. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, watching him. "You don't have to pretend, Zeru," he said softly. The alien froze, knife hovering mid-air. "Pretend what, Captain?" "That everything's fine," Ryan said. "I saw them. Last night, the Dravoks, I heard what they called you." Zeru's shoulders stiffened. For a moment, he didn't move at all. Then he turned slowly, his golden eyes full of fear. "You shouldn't have gone there." "I had to," Ryan said. "You're part of my crew." Zeru shook his head, his voice trembling. "No, Captain, I am not crew, I am property. I ran from them years ago. I changed my name, hid on small ships, worked for food and silence. But the Dravoks always find what belongs to them." Ryan clenched his fists. "Belongs? No one belongs to anyone. You're free now." Zeru gave a sad, tired smile. "Freedom does not exist for my kind. The Dravoks own entire worlds. They implant our minds with pain circuits. Even if we escape, the mark in our neck pulls us back when they activate it." Ryan's eyes darkened. "That thing on your neck, it's still active, isn't it?" Zeru nodded weakly. "They can find me anywhere. If they turn it on, I will feel it no matter where I am." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence like a heartbeat. Ryan took a deep breath. "Then we remove it. I'll cut it out if I have to." Zeru looked horrified. "Captain, no. If you touch it wrong, it will burn through my spine. The device kills instantly if tampered with." Ryan's voice hardened. "Then we find another way. There must be someone." He stopped as his communicator beeped. A message flashed on the screen. "Captain Hale, you've seen what you shouldn't. Hand over the slave by sunset cycle, or your ship will burn." Ryan's heart thumped. The message was untraceable, coded in Dravok military script. They knew he'd seen them. They knew he wouldn't stay silent. He looked at Zeru. "They threatened us." Zeru's hands tightened around the counter. "Then you must let me go. I will leave on a pod. If they think I escaped again, they won't chase you." Ryan stepped closer, his tone firm. "I don't abandon my people, Zeru. Not to monsters." Zeru stared at him for a long moment, eyes wide, voice soft. "Humans are strange. You fight for those who cannot repay you." Ryan smiled bitterly. "Maybe that's what makes us human." Hours later, Ryan stood on the bridge, thinking. The Dravoks were powerful. Their empire spread across star systems. But even they had weaknesses. He remembered rumors from his days as a smuggler, stories about a Dravok scientist who vanished with something dangerous. He looked at Zeru through the glass panel. Could it be him? Ryan opened the ship logs from the day Zeru joined his crew. The alien had boarded under a false name. No history, no ID. Just one bag. Heavy, made of strange silver fabric. Ryan had never asked what was inside. Now, curiosity burned through him. He waited until Zeru went to rest, then quietly entered his quarters. The small bag sat under the bunk. When he opened it, a faint blue light spilled out. Inside was a metal sphere, pulsing softly, covered in symbols Ryan didn't recognize. He touched it, and a whisper echoed in his mind. Project Echo, Prototype Core. Ryan's heart jumped. The stories were true. Project Echo was said to be a secret weapon the Dravox created, a device that could control minds or free them. The details were always hidden. He looked at the sphere again, realization dawning. Zeru wasn't just a cook, he was the scientist who built this. Suddenly the door slid open. Zeru stood there, eyes wide, breathing hard. "Captain, please put it down." Ryan turned, stunned. "You built this, didn't you?" Zeru stepped forward slowly. "Yes, I made it to free my people from Dravok control, but they twisted it. They turned it into a weapon. I ran before they could force me to finish it." Ryan held the sphere carefully. Then this could stop them. Zeru's eyes filled with tears. "Or destroy everything. The Dravox killed millions to keep it secret. They will burn planets to get it back." Ryan looked out the window at the sea of stars. "Then we'd better make sure they don't." He handed the sphere back to Zeru. "We'll find a way to use it for freedom." Zeru's hands trembled as he held it close. "You don't understand, Captain. If they know we have it, no one in the galaxy will be safe." As if to prove his words, a red alarm light began flashing on the bridge. The radars screamed. 2 Dravok patrol ships had just exited hyperspace, right behind them. The ship's solar wind trembled as 2 Dravok patrol cruisers appeared behind it, their black armor glinting like fangs against the stars. Red lights flashed across the control panels and alarms screamed through the corridors. Captain Ryan Hale gripped the pilot's controls, his jaw tight. "They found us fast," he muttered. Zeru stumbled onto the bridge, still clutching the small silver sphere, the Project Echo core. His blue skin shimmered under the red emergency lights and his voice shook. "Captain, their scanners will detect the core. We cannot fight them. They will destroy us." Ryan glanced at him, eyes fierce. "We're not giving you up. Or that device. Strap in." The communicator crackled to life. A harsh voice filled the cabin, deep and cold. "Human vessel Solar Wind, you are harboring stolen Dravok property. Surrender the fugitive and the artifact, or face annihilation." Ryan turned off the mic and muttered, "They talk like they already own the stars." Zeru's eyes widened. "You don't understand, Captain. They do. Every outpost, every law, they have control everywhere." Ryan smiled grimly. "Not everywhere." He slammed the throttle forward. The engines roared to life, and the solar wind shot toward a nearby asteroid belt. The Dravok ships followed, plasma cannons firing. Blue bolts of energy tore through the void, grazing the hull. Sparks flew. The ship shuddered violently, warning lights flashing. Ryan twisted the controls, weaving between giant rocks. "Come on, old girl. Hold together," he whispered to the ship. Behind them, the Dravok's massive cruisers smashed through smaller asteroids, relentless. They were faster, stronger, and heavily armed. Ryan knew he couldn't outrun them for long. Zeru clung to the console. "They won't stop, Captain. Even if we escape, they will hunt us across the galaxy." Ryan's face hardened. "Then we stop running." He flicked open a control panel and began typing commands. The ship's engines powered down to minimal output, hiding their heat signature among the asteroids. The solar wind drifted silently into a shadowed crater on a massive rock. Outside, the Dravok ship swept the area with search beams. The light passed dangerously close, illuminating the hull for a moment before fading away. Ryan held his breath. Zeru's eyes were wide, unblinking. After several tense minutes, the cruisers moved off, vanishing into the black. The silence that followed was almost deafening. Zeru exhaled shakily. You risked everything for me. Ryan leaned back, sweat on his forehead. You said they'd hunt you anyway. Might as well make them work for it. Zeru smiled weakly, but his gaze was full of worry. You don't understand what you've done, Captain. Helping me means every Dravok fleet will see you as an enemy. There is no going back now. Ryan shrugged. Good. I never liked following rules. Hours passed. The ship floated quietly within the asteroid's shadow. Ryan worked on repairing the damaged systems, sparks flying from open panels. Zeru sat nearby, holding the Project Echo core, its blue light pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Ryan glanced at him. You said this thing could free your people. How? Zeru hesitated, then began slowly. Every Dravok slave is controlled by a neural code, a signal buried deep in their mind. The device can send a pulse that breaks that control. If completed, it could free millions. Ryan stared at him, stunned. Then why didn't you finish it? Zeru's golden eyes dimmed. Because freedom terrifies those who rule. The Dravok High Council ordered me to change the core, to make it reverse. Instead of freeing slaves, it would make them loyal forever. I refused. They called me a traitor and destroyed my lab. He looked down at the glowing sphere. I escaped with this piece before they could erase me. Ryan's voice softened. So that's why they branded you. You're not just a runaway, you're the one thing they fear most. Zeru nodded silently. The ship's sensors beeped again, snapping Ryan's attention back to the screen. Incoming transmission, the computer announced. Ryan tapped the console. A holographic image appeared. A Dravok commander, his scaled face filled with hatred. Captain Hale, you have made a grave mistake. Return what belongs to us, or your species will pay. Ryan crossed his arms. I'm guessing return means handing over my friend for torture? The commander's eyes glowed red. That creature's no friend. He is a tool. And you, human, are beneath notice. We could crush your planet in a day. Ryan smiled coldly. Then you'll have to find me first. He cut the transmission. Zeru looked at him in shock. You just declared war on them. Ryan turned toward him, calm but firm. No, I just told them I don't bow to bullies. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the ship. The asteroid around them began to tremble. Ryan checked the scanner, and his blood ran cold. The Dravoks weren't gone. They dropped tracking beacons into the belt. The entire rock field was about to be vaporized. Hold on, he shouted, slamming the engines to full power. The solar wind burst out of the crater, fire blazing from its thrusters. Behind them, the asteroid exploded into a storm of glowing debris. Chunks of rock slammed against the hull. Zeru cried out as a shockwave threw him to the floor. Ryan pulled hard on the controls, guiding the ship through the chaos. Finally, they cleared the blast zone, barely intact. The stars opened before them once more. Zeru looked up weakly. They will not stop, Captain. They will follow us to the edge of the galaxy. Ryan nodded grimly, eyes fixed ahead. Then we'll go where they can't follow. Zeru frowned. Where is that? Ryan's lips curved into a thin smile. To the one place no Dravok dares to go, the junk planet of Vornis. Outside, the stars stretched into long streaks as the solar wind jumped into hyperspace, with the entire Dravok Empire now hunting them. The stars blurred into streaks of white as the solar wind tore through hyperspace. The ship groaned under the strain, its hull creaking like an old beast struggling to breathe. Captain Ryan Hale gripped the control lever, his knuckles white. Every jump risked tearing the ship apart, but it was their only chance to stay ahead of the Dravok fleet. Behind him, Zeru sat quietly, holding the small glowing sphere, the Project Echo core. Its blue light flickered across his face, soft but alive, almost like it was breathing. Vornis, Ryan muttered. A graveyard of old ships and machines. Perfect place to hide. Zeru's eyes lifted slowly. Or to die, if we're not careful. The planet eats metal and spits out ghosts. Ryan gave a half smile. Good thing we're stubborn ghosts. Hours later, the ship burst out of hyperspace and drifted toward a massive ball of swirling junk. Vornis hung in the dark like a floating wound, covered in wrecked ships, twisted satellites, and broken space stations. Lightning arced between metal mountains, painting the surface in flashes of silver and black. Ryan guided the solar wind carefully through the debris field, weaving between spinning wreckage. "This place makes a scrapyard look friendly," he said. Zeru leaned forward, scanning the planet. "There's a signal beneath the surface. Old tech, human design mixed with alien code." Ryan raised a brow. "You sure?" Zeru nodded. "We might find what we need to rebuild the device here." They landed on a wide, cracked platform surrounded by piles of dead machines. The air shimmered with static energy. As they stepped outside, the metal ground hummed beneath their boots. Zeru carried the core in a small containment box, his movements cautious but purposeful. "The main structure should be below this area," he said, checking his scanner. "If we find the right components, I can complete the Project Echo prototype." Ryan followed, blaster ready. The wind howled through hollow ships, making the world sound alive. After a long walk, they found a half-buried laboratory under a collapsed satellite tower. The doors creaked open, revealing a maze of rusted equipment and old data terminals. Ryan whistled. "Looks like someone's playground." Zeru knelt beside a broken console connecting wires from the core. Blue light spread through the dark room as the old systems flickered back to life. Holograms blinked on, blueprints, codes, and fragments of data floating in the air. One image showed a neural pulse wave radiating across entire planets. Ryan frowned. "That's what this thing can do?" Zeru nodded. "When complete, it can send a pulse strong enough to break every Dravok control implant. It can free every mind they own." Ryan's voice was low. "You're telling me this tiny sphere can collapse an empire?" Zeru's expression turned somber. "Yes, but it could also kill billions if it's misused. The pulse doesn't know the difference between slave and master. It simply severs control." Ryan stared at the glowing light, his jaw tightening. "So that's why they want it back. They can't let something like this exist." Before Zeru could reply, a faint sound echoed through the ruins, metal scraping against metal. Both froze. Ryan raised his blaster. "We're not alone." From the shadows emerged three figures in torn armor, eyes glowing dimly. They weren't Dravok. They were scavengers, human and alien mixed, their bodies marked with strange cybernetic implants. The leader grinned, revealing silver teeth. "Well, look what the trash pulled in. A human captain and a pretty blue scientist. You got something shiny, friend?" Ryan took a step forward. "Just passing through." The scavenger laughed. "Passing? Through Vornis? No one passes through here unless they've got something worth stealing." His gaze fell on the glowing core. "That'll do nicely." Before Ryan could react, the scavengers drew their weapons. A firefight exploded through the lab. Bolts of red and blue energy filled the air, bouncing off metal walls. Ryan ducked behind a console, returning fire with sharp precision. Zeru hid the core under his cloak, diving behind a fallen beam. "Captain," Zeru shouted over the noise, "if they hit the core, it will overload." "Then they won't get the chance," Ryan yelled, firing at the leader's arm. The scavenger screamed as his weapon flew from his hand, but one of the others fired a grenade. It hit the ground, exploding with a shockwave that threw Ryan backward. His head struck the wall hard. Everything blurred. When he opened his eyes, the scavengers were gone, along with Zeru. The core's containment box lay shattered on the floor, its blue light fading. Ryan stumbled to his feet, dizzy. "Zeru, answer me." No reply, only the eerie hum of broken machines. He looked at the scanner. The signal from the core was moving, fast, toward the planet's outer ridge. "They took him," Ryan growled. He grabbed his blaster and sprinted back toward the ship, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. As he climbed into the solar wind, he saw three small ships lifting off from the surface, streaking toward orbit. Ryan slammed into the pilot's seat. "You picked the wrong human to rob," he said coldly. The engines roared to life, dust and debris flying into the air. The solar wind shot upward, chasing the thieves through the storm of lightning and wreckage. Ryan's eyes blazed with fury. "Hang on, Zeru, I'm coming." Outside, the junk planet burned behind them and the stars seemed to tremble, because one angry human was about to shake the galaxy. The solar wind tore through the storm of metal and lightning above the junk planet Vornis. Captain Ryan Hale's face was grim, eyes locked on the radar screen. 3 red dots blinked ahead, 3 scavenger ships carrying Zeru and the stolen Project Echo core. Ryan gripped the controls tightly. "You're not getting away with him," he muttered under his breath. He pushed the throttle forward. The engine screamed and the solar wind surged ahead, cutting between spinning wreckage and fire. The scavengers darted around like insects, firing plasma bolts that streaked across the darkness. Ryan dodged one, then another. A blast hit the ship's wing, shaking the whole hull. Sparks flew from the control panel, but Ryan didn't flinch. His focus was razor sharp. He tapped a button. The ship's old cannons powered up with a low growl. "Come on, baby," he whispered to the ship. Just one good shot. He locked onto the rear scavenger and fired. A burst of blue energy exploded from the cannon, hitting the enemy's engines. The scavenger ship spun wildly, then burst apart into glowing debris. "One down," Ryan muttered. 2 to go. But before he could target the others, a deep shadow passed over his ship. He looked up and froze. A massive Dravok dreadnought loomed above the planet, black and silent, like a mountain of death. It had been waiting. Ryan's stomach sank. No! They found us. The remaining scavengers shot upward toward the dreadnought, disappearing into its hangar. The ship's communication system crackled. A cold voice filled the cabin. "Captain Hale, we have your pet, and your courage impresses us, though it's wasted." Ryan clenched his fists. "What do you want?" "Only what is ours. The alien, the core. You will come aboard, or we will erase your ship from existence." Ryan stared out at the giant warship, his mind racing. He could run, but he'd never leave Zeru. He took a deep breath and whispered, "All right. You want me? I'm coming." Minutes later, the solar wind was pulled into the dreadnought's hangar by a tractor beam. The moment it landed, armed Dravok soldiers surrounded it. Ryan stepped out slowly, hands raised, his blaster hidden under his jacket. The Dravok commander stood before him, tall, covered in black armor, eyes glowing like molten metal. "The human captain," the commander said with a smirk. "You risked your life for a creature that isn't even your kind. Foolish." Ryan met his gaze. "Where's Zeru?" The commander nodded to a side door. 2 soldiers dragged Zeru out. His body was bruised and weak, his wrists bound with glowing restraints. Ryan's chest tightened with anger. Zeru looked up, eyes barely open. "Captain, you shouldn't have come." Ryan's voice was low, steady. "You're my crew, Zeru. I don't leave my crew." The commander laughed. "Touching. But soon neither of you will exist. The core will return to its rightful owners, and the rebellion it could inspire will be forgotten." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "You don't want rebellion, you want control." The Dravok stepped closer, hissing. "Control is peace. Chaos is freedom, and freedom kills." Ryan smiled faintly. "Guess I'm on the side of chaos then." Before the commander could react, Ryan moved, fast. He drew his blaster and shot the nearest soldier. Chaos exploded in the hangar. Alarms blared, energy bolts flew. Ryan grabbed Zeru's arm and dragged him toward the exit. "Can you walk?" he shouted. Zeru nodded weakly. "Barely." They ducked behind crates as Dravok soldiers fired. Ryan fired back, hitting a control panel that triggered the emergency doors. The massive steel shutters slammed down, trapping half the soldiers inside. "Which way to the hangar's control deck?" Ryan asked. Zeru pointed shakily. "Up the stairs, then right." They sprinted, dodging gunfire. When they reached the control room, Ryan sealed the door behind them. He turned to Zeru. "We need to shut down their shields or we'll never escape." Zeru moved to the console, typing quickly with trembling hands. "I can do it, but I'll need to reroute power from the core. It's in the central lab." Ryan's heart pounded. "Then we go there next." Before he could move, the ship shook violently. A voice boomed through the speakers. "You cannot escape, Captain. We have hundreds of soldiers aboard, and your ship, your solar wind, is already under our control." Ryan ran to the window. Outside, he saw Dravok drones crawling over his ship, cutting into the hull. Sparks burst from its sides like blood. "No!" he shouted. Zeru turned, eyes wide. "If they reach the engine, it'll explode." Ryan thought fast. "Then we blow the core before they can use it. If we can't free anyone, we'll make sure no one controls it either." Zeru hesitated. "If the core goes critical, it will destroy this entire dreadnought." Ryan met his gaze. "Then let's make it count." They rushed out of the control room, heading for the lab. The hallways trembled with battle. Dravok soldiers running, alarms screaming, red lights flashing. When they burst into the lab, the glowing Project Echo core sat inside a containment field. Wires connected it to massive energy conduits. The Dravoks were already trying to reprogram it. Ryan fired at the controls, sparks flying. The Dravok engineers screamed and dove for cover. Zeru limped forward, typing furiously on the console. "I can't shut it down," he said. "They've locked the sequence." Ryan looked at him. "Then what can you do?" Zeru's eyes filled with a strange calm. "I can finish it." Before Ryan could stop him, Zeru stepped into the containment field. The blue light from the core wrapped around him like water. "Zeru, no," Ryan shouted. The alien turned, his voice steady. "You gave me a reason to live free, Captain. Let me give them one too." A blinding flash filled the lab as the core pulsed, and the dreadnought began to shake apart. The Dravok dreadnought trembled like a dying beast. Blue light surged through its metallic veins, bursting from every corridor and vent. Inside the lab, Captain Ryan Hale shielded his face as energy rippled around him. The Project Echo core was no longer a sphere. It had become a glowing storm spinning around Zeru, who stood calm at its center. "Zeru," Ryan shouted, voice drowned by the roar of power. "Stop, you'll kill yourself." Zeru looked at him, eyes bright like stars. "No, Captain. I'm giving them life." Then the pulse erupted. A shockwave of blue light burst from the dreadnought, spreading across space faster than any signal. Ryan was thrown to the floor. The walls cracked, alarms screamed, and the ship's systems died one by one. When the noise faded, silence filled the air. Ryan opened his eyes and the containment chamber was empty. Zeru was gone. Only the faint hum of the Project Echo core remained, now small and still. Ryan crawled to it, breathing heavily. "Zeru!" The intercom crackled to life. A terrified Dravok voice screamed, "The slaves, they're turning on us." "The implants, they're gone!" Ryan froze. He ran to the nearest window and looked outside. In the distance, smaller Dravok ships were spinning out of control, their crews fighting each other. Across nearby systems, fleets of enslaved workers and soldiers were breaking free. The pulse had worked. Zeru had freed them. The dreadnought's power systems overloaded, smoke filling every corridor. Ryan stumbled through the chaos, searching for an escape pod. The floor tilted as explosions rocked the ship. He found a pod bay just as a group of Dravok soldiers appeared at the far end of the hall. Their weapons glowed red. "Human, stop!" Ryan raised his blaster. "Not today." He fired, the shots echoing down the corridor. 2 soldiers fell and the rest scattered. Ryan dove into a pod, slammed the hatch shut and punched the launch button. The pod shot out into space as the dreadnought erupted behind him in a burst of blue fire. Through the window, Ryan watched the giant warship collapse in on itself, vanishing into a silent, glowing cloud. He whispered, "You did it. You actually did it." Hours later, Ryan's pod drifted through the remains of the Dravok fleet. The comms were full of chaos, voices from hundreds of freed beings, some crying, some shouting in disbelief. "The pain is gone. They can't control us anymore." "Free! We're free!" Ryan's throat tightened. He smiled weakly. "You see that, Zeru? You freed the galaxy." But then the comms changed tone. A cold voice cut through the static, one Ryan recognized. "Human Hale, this is Dravok High Admiral Tarash. You have unleashed disaster. The balance is broken. We will rebuild, and you will be hunted until the stars themselves fade." Ryan gritted his teeth. "You'll rebuild? No, you'll face justice." He shut off the channel. He drifted in silence, the stars glittering around him. The Project Echo core sat in his hands, dim now, almost dead. Yet when he looked closely, he thought he saw something, a flicker of light like a heartbeat. Several hours later, a distress beacon caught his attention. A small freighter was floating nearby, its engines sputtering. Ryan piloted his pod toward it and docked. Inside, he found a group of alien workers, once Drevok slaves, now free but terrified. Their collars had burned away, leaving faint scars on their necks. One of them, a tall insectoid named Kresh, stepped forward. You were on the dreadnought. You did this. Ryan shook his head. Not me. My friend did. Kresh tilted his head. The blue one? Ryan nodded. Zeru, Kresh bowed slightly. Then we will remember his name. Ryan looked out the window, his voice low. Good. He deserves that. They repaired the freighter together, scavenging parts from wrecked ships. Ryan helped them set a course for the nearest free system. But as they prepared to part ways, Kresh stopped him. There's something you should hear, he said, handing Ryan a small comm device. Ryan pressed play. A soft, static-filled voice came through, faint, broken, but familiar. Ryan, if you hear this, I am part of the signal now. The core is alive. The galaxy will change. Don't let them twist it again. Remember me, not as a slave, but as your friend. Ryan froze, heart pounding. Zeru. The message ended in silence. Ryan stared at the device for a long time, eyes burning. Then he whispered, I'll keep your promise. Days passed. News spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Drevok Empire had fallen into chaos. Entire planets rose up, breaking free from centuries of control. Some called it the Great Awakening. Others called it the Pulse Rebellion. But across every world, one story repeated. The tale of a human captain who defied an empire for his alien friend. Ryan watched the reports from a quiet outpost, his ship parked under twin moons. The solar wind was battered and burned, but still flying. He reached into his jacket and took out the Project Echo core. It pulsed faintly in his hand, steady, alive. Looks like you're still here, old friend, he whispered. Just then, his ship's console beeped. A new message flashed across the screen. Incoming transmission, source unknown. Message, Captain Hale. The signal spreads. Freedom grows. Ryan's eyes widened. He looked out at the stars, a slow smile spreading across his face. Guess you're not done saving the galaxy yet, are you, Zeru? He said softly. The solar wind lifted off once more, engines glowing bright against the black sky. And as it vanished into the stars, the galaxy whispered the name of the alien who had once been just a cook, but became a legend. Weeks passed since the fall of the Drevok Empire. Across the galaxy, chains were breaking, banners were rising, and whispers of freedom echoed through every system. Worlds that had bowed in silence now sang in rebellion. But for Captain Ryan Hale, victory felt hollow. He sat alone in the cockpit of the solar wind, staring at the faint glow of the Project Echo core resting on his console. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat trapped in metal. He hadn't slept much. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Zeru, standing in that storm of blue light, smiling before vanishing into it. Damn it, Zeru, Ryan murmured. You didn't have to go out like that. But deep down, he knew the alien had chosen that path willingly. It was who Zeru was, gentle, selfless, and brave in ways most soldiers could never understand. A faint beeping snapped Ryan from his thoughts. The core flickered suddenly, brighter than before. Its blue glow filled the cabin and a low hum vibrated through the ship. Ryan frowned. You've been quiet for days. What now? He tapped a few buttons, scanning its energy signature, but the data made no sense. The reading showed life activity. Not random signals, not energy waves. Something or someone was inside. The ship's speakers crackled softly. Then a voice, broken, faint but unmistakable, echoed through the cabin. Ryan, you stubborn human. Ryan's eyes widened. Zeru, don't talk. Just listen. The core isn't a machine anymore. It's me. I merged with the signal. I see everything, Ryan, the freed worlds. The chaos, the pain. Ryan leaned closer, heart pounding. You're alive in there? Alive and not. My body is gone, but my mind, it's part of the network now. Every freed being, every thought, they all connect through me. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, half amazed, half terrified. That's impossible. It's happening. But the Drevok remnants, they're gathering again. The High Admiral survived. He's building a weapon to reverse the pulse. If he succeeds, everything we did will vanish. Ryan's jaw tightened. Where? The Outer Rim. Planet Cordax 9. It's a fortress world, shielded and armed. You can't face them alone. Ryan smirked faintly. Never stopped me before. The voice in the ship's speakers softened. You always were reckless. Ryan smiled sadly. And you always tried to stop me. Not this time, Zeru said. This time I'll help you. The core's glow brightened until it filled the entire cockpit. The ship's systems flickered, then came alive, faster, stronger. The engines roared as if fueled by pure light. Ryan blinked. What did you do? I am with the ship now. Let's finish this. The solar wind raced across the stars faster than it ever had. Ryan could feel it. Zeru guiding the ship, reacting to every movement before he even touched the controls. They were one team again. When they reached Cordax 9, the sight was terrifying. The entire planet glowed red beneath swirling storm clouds. Dozens of Dryvok warships orbited it like vultures. Ryan tightened his harness. All right, buddy. One last dance. Coordinates locked, Zeru's voice said. We hit the reactor core, trigger a chain reaction, and end this for good. The solar wind dove into the chaos. Enemy ships swarmed, firing streams of plasma. Ryan twisted and rolled through the fire, the ship moving with impossible precision. Zeru's reflexes guiding every turn. Zeru, you're making me look good, Ryan shouted. Don't get used to it, came the faint, amused reply. They broke through the blockade and dove into the planet's atmosphere. The sky burned orange, lightning splitting the clouds. Below, a vast fortress rose from the volcanic plains, spikes of black metal glowing with crimson light. Target in sight, Ryan said. Brace yourself. The ship dove straight toward the fortress. The Dryvoks opened fire, but every bolt missed. The solar wind streaked like a comet through the inferno. They reached the core tower, a massive structure pulsing with dark energy. Zeru, how do we destroy it? Ryan yelled. We don't, I do. Ryan's eyes widened. What do you mean? The core's power is tied to me now. If I overload myself inside their reactor, the signal will spread again, stronger than before. It will erase their control code forever, but I won't survive it this time. Ryan shook his head violently. No, we'll find another way. There isn't one. You taught me what freedom means. Now let me give it to everyone. Ryan's hands trembled on the controls. Zeru, I can't lose you again. You won't. I'll be in every voice that's free. Every being that dares to dream. Before Ryan could argue, the core detached itself from the ship's console, floating toward the front window. The blue light enveloped the cockpit, and Zeru's voice whispered one last time, Thank you, Captain, for seeing me when no one else did. Then, the core shot out of the ship, streaking down toward the fortress. Ryan watched, speechless, as a blinding wave of blue light exploded from the planet's surface. It spread across the stars again, wider, stronger, unstoppable. The Dryvok ships froze mid-flight, their systems collapsing. Across the galaxy, every remaining control implant disintegrated. The war was over. Ryan sat in silence, tears blurring his vision. You did it, Zeru. You really did it. Weeks later, Ryan stood on the deck of a rebuilt solar wind orbiting a liberated world. Statues were being built in city squares, monuments of a small blue alien with kind eyes. Children played around them, shouting his name. Zeru, the hero of the pulse. Ryan smiled faintly, placing a hand on the ship's console. It glowed once softly, like a quiet heartbeat. He looked out at the stars and whispered, Rest easy, old friend. The galaxy remembers. Then he started the engines. The solar wind turned toward the horizon of stars, and with a bright flash, the ship disappeared into the endless dark, carrying the memory of the cook who changed the universe forever.